Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So there is this really very interesting and very intriguing article from gamesindustry.biz which says that a GfK survey found out some results about what games sell the most. The title isn't really very accurate here because all these numbers or figures about sales are only about physical copies of games, and also there is inclusion of Brazil with Europe. They're speaking about Europe and also Brazil. So why Brazil of all places? It is really intriguing and I will explain why later in the video. The article says that Animal Crossing New Horizons, The Last of Us Part 2 and FIFA 20 were at the top of the charts in multiple European countries for the first half of the year. And I'm like, fair enough, okay. Animal Crossing is selling really well in countries like Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland and the UK. FIFA 20 is also the top seller in countries like Denmark, Italy, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Russia and Spain. I think it's understandable, especially for countries like Italy, Portugal and Spain. These countries are football lovers, so it makes sense that FIFA 20 is one of the top selling games in there, if not the top selling game, at least physical copies wise. And there are also some big countries like Germany and France, so this makes this GfK survey a little bit more credible, so to speak, because it picks data from really big markets. So for example, France is the biggest market for Nintendo in Europe. I think it's one of the biggest markets when it comes to Nintendo in the whole world. And then they're speaking about The Last of Us Part 2. It says that it tops the charts in countries like the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Sweden. And it's very interesting to choose these countries, I know, because The Last of Us Part 2 sold well there, but yeah, Czech Republic and Slovakia are small countries. They don't have a lot of population. Sweden is a rich country, of course, but it's also not really big in terms of population. So I would really prefer to have sales of this very game in France and the UK and Germany because they are the biggest markets on the one hand, and on the other hand there was talk about the UK charts a lot during the first days of The Last of Us Part 2, saying that it was in the top charts and that it was selling well, whereas in this article we don't see The Last of Us Part 2 as the biggest selling, or at least in the top 2. Then there are also other games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in Austria and Switzerland, NHL 20 in Czech Republic and Slovakia as number 3, Forza Horizon number 3 in Hungary, and then we have Brazil, and I'll explain why it is very intriguing to cover Brazil. It says that The Last of Us Part 2 was the top seller there, so this is one fact. There is also Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 and FIFA 20 at number 2 and 3 respectively. I think Brazil is a country in which football is really a huge thing. But why Brazil? Like, Brazil has 200 million people in it. If you have a country like 200 million people and you choose it, why didn't you choose, for example, the United States, which is the biggest market for video games in the world, and it has 300 million, 28, something like that. Do you really want to convey some sort of message? I don't know, but if we really want some credibility when it comes to charts, we would choose the United States and also China, even though there is a restriction when it comes to video games there, but still, it's the second biggest market and it competes really fiercely with the United States. Choosing Europe is okay, I mean, there is no problem with that, but when you pair Europe with Brazil, I don't understand what's the rationale there. What is interesting about this GfK, if you go to the About page, they will tell you signals from the noise, and here they say, in a world of data overflow, disruption and misuse, picking up the right signal from the noise is key to success. Okay, so they're picking up the right signal, so to speak, and they're picking up signals from Brazil, but they fail to pick up signals from countries like the United States. It's very intriguing indeed, and they claim that they provide world-class analytics that deliver not just descriptive data but also actionable recommendations, helping to boost sales as well as organizational and marketing effectiveness. So this is where my concerns come from. Like, why did they choose Brazil? Why didn't they like choose South America at large when they choose Brazil? So why not South America at large? Maybe they don't have enough data from there, but why Brazil and not the United States? I think the United States should be the top priority, as well as Europe and the Pacific Asia market, because these three markets are the biggest. This is only objectively speaking, and yet they conveniently chose Brazil to say that a certain game is the #1 game in there. Very, very intriguing. And we don't even have any kind of like, what are the actual numbers? How many copies did Animal Crossing sell, or how many copies did FIFA sell, or The Last of Us 2, or Pro Evolution Soccer? So for example, you could say that X game sells really well in a certain country, but if you don't give actual numbers, it's not really very accurate, because X country could be a small country, or because the sales of X game could be not really that high, even though they are #1 in said country. And of course, there is also the problem with digital data, like digital sales. It's very difficult to have those, but at least if you want to speak about physical sales, give us some actual numbers to know how many copies were sold of X game. Anyway, thank you for watching. What do you think about this article, and what do you think about the results that it found? Leave your comments down below, and I will talk to you again soon. Have a good one.